Have you been told that your chronic pain is due to arthritis or a bulging disc or maybe some other kind of degeneration that's showing up in an X-ray or an MRI or another kind of imaging technology? Well, what if I told you that what you're seeing in those images may very likely have nothing to do with the pain that you're experiencing? Hi, I'm Rob Lieblein. I'm a certified pain recovery coach and a former chronic pain sufferer myself. And in today's video, I want to break down why what we see in those images very often has nothing to do with the symptoms that we're experiencing, and how relying on those images too much can actually hinder our ability to heal and possibly even make our symptoms worse. I want to acknowledge up front that we are truly lucky to be living in a time when the state of the art of imaging technology is so advanced, and we can spot things like tumors and fractures and even compromisation of the spinal cord that we couldn't find out before. And that is saving lives on a daily basis. However, if we do come to rely too much on this imaging, we start to fall into a few different traps because we've never been able to see what's going on in the body to the degree and specificity that we can see it now. And we're working under an assumption that anything less than a perfect picture of the insides of our body is going to be representative of damage, and in turn that damage is what's causing the pain. Now, there are many studies now which are showing that there really is very little correlation between chronic pain and what we see and term as degeneration on X-rays and MRIs. And once you do clear things like fractures, tumors, compromised spinal cord, very serious joint degeneration, the correlation almost disappears. Here's one among many studies that are out there. This was conducted in 2021. And in this graphic, you can see just how many people who are asymptomatic, who are not experiencing any kind of pain symptoms, have what we would call, or what we would expect to see as, pain-causing degeneration. And while there is a fairly strong correlation between age and the degeneration that we see, or the level of changes that we see, there's not an increase in the level of pain that we're seeing. So if we take a look at this study, we can almost say that we could randomly toss a rock into a random crowd of people and hit somebody who had something going on in their body that could be interpreted as causing pain, even if they're not experiencing any pain. So if it's not the degeneration that's causing the pain, what is it? And essentially, it's the brain's interpretation, or we could even say misinterpretation, of signals being sent from the peripheral nervous system and the spinal cord. As I've discussed in some of my other videos, when we are too often fearful and stressed and repressing difficult and challenging emotions, that can build up to the point where our brains begin to misinterpret what are usually just normal or benign signals coming from the rest of the body. The system becomes oversensitized, and that misinterpretation causes the brain to send out pain signals to different parts of the body. And that pain is certainly real pain. We're experiencing something genuine and something difficult. However, the pain is not tied to any kind of structural damage. So how does all of this get in the way of healing from our chronic pain and symptoms? Well, in the first place, if we are addressing what's going on as structural damage, then we're missing the point entirely, right? We are not addressing the real cause of the pain that we're experiencing, which is more based in emotional and psychological factors, that our brains are on high alert and our nervous system is oversensitized. Also, we trust our doctors. So when we hear them using language like degeneration and stenosis and herniation and other things, that actually causes an already sensitized nervous system to go into another level of overdrive and fear. And we know that fear increases pain. So the more bad news we get, the more fear we experience. The more fear we experience, the more pain we get, and we get locked again into an extended pain-fear cycle. And there is additional research to support the psychological and emotional roots of this kind of pain. One famous one is called the Boulder Back Pain Study that was done in the early 2020s, in which they focused on lower back pain, chronic lower back pain specifically, and applied principles of pain reprocessing therapy, which includes somatic tracking, and there are some other elements to it. And what they found that was the people in the study who received pain reprocessing therapy did incredibly well. They exceeded the expectations that the people conducting the study had. 2/3 of the participants who received pain reprocessing therapy were either pain-free or nearly pain-free after just 4 weeks of the program, and they remained in that positive state about a year later. And if we take a look at that study, which I will also put a link to in the video description, we can see that nothing really changed there physically for them, right? Nothing changed in their backs, but what changed was really up here, literally and figuratively, because they did imaging studies on brain activity and saw that after their experience with pain reprocessing therapy, areas of the brain that were showing a pain response were much, much more calmed down. So the change wasn't in the back, the change was up here, but the pain in the back was gone. So what's super important here is to move away from viewing these images with a sense of fear to one of understanding that if you're a human being, you're going to see changes over time to what's going on inside your body. And if you've been told that what you're seeing in an MRI or an X-ray is responsible for your chronic pain, just remember, having ruled out some of the more serious medical conditions that may be possible, just remember that you are not broken. Your pain can absolutely get better, even if your imaging doesn't change one little bit. So if you like this video, if this video has been helpful to you in some way, please hit the like button or add a comment, ask a question, share a story about imaging that you've come across and how it's affected your symptoms. You can also subscribe to this channel to keep getting more information on MindBody solutions to chronic pain and symptoms. And if you do feel like you need more personalized attention, book a 30-minute free consultation with me. The link to that is in the notes to the program description. And I will see you in the next video. And remember, chronic pain is not a life sentence.